Madam Minister, welcome to the Standing Committee on Official Languages. We came to an agreement as to how to proceed. We'll hear from you. After then, we're going to suspend so that we can go and vote. And perhaps after this vote, we can continue, if that suits you. No, that's quite suitable to me. So without further ado, I will turn the floor over to you, Madam Minister. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. It's a real pleasure to be before you today. I'd like to introduce you to the team that helps me. Hubert Lucier, Assistant Deputy Minister for Citizenship, Heritage and the Regions, and also Mr. Jean-Pierre Gauthier, the Director General for Official Languages. First of all, I'd like to thank you for the invitation, and as this is our first meeting, I'd like to commend you on your work and your leadership, Mr. Chair. This committee carries out tasks and duties of great importance, not only to our life as a democracy, but also to the life of Canadians who contribute every day in English and French to our society. Last Monday, perhaps some of you are already aware of this, I appeared before the Senate Committee on Official Languages, and I concluded my presentation by emphasizing the importance of collaboration. This, in fact, is a major element in the mandate letters that the Prime Minister sent to all the ministers, and that are, as you know, accessible to all Canadians. I'm therefore very happy to establish a collaborative working relationship with you as Minister. I hope that the members will have an opportunity to read my briefing books, which are accessible to all. They're available online on the internet, on the website of Heritage Canada. As Minister, I want to contribute to the development of both English and French in all provinces and territories. I can count on my wonderful Parliamentary Secretary, Randy Boissonnault, a proud Franco-Albertan who's going to support me in this area. I've had some very interesting conversations with some key players from Nova Scotia, the Yukon, British Columbia, Manitoba, and Ontario. I had an opportunity to meet with them when I traveled to Whitehorse, Calgary, and Toronto. I discovered talented and passionate people who are committed to the vitality of their community. They really did inspire me.
I would like to explain how I intend to fulfill my responsibilities in regards to our official languages. I will ensure that the English and French languages are promoted in the activities and programs within my department that are dedicated to linguistic duality and to the development of official language minority communities. Parlons maintenant du 150e anniversaire.
I'd like to talk about our 150th anniversary on Confederation. On March 1st, I presented to Canadians the Government of Canada's vision for the celebrations marking this anniversary. This is a very important anniversary for our country. It will be a time to celebrate in our communities everything that makes our country rich and strong: our languages, our culture, our diversity, our openness, our desire to build a bright future together. We will be focusing these celebrations on 4 themes: youth, reconciliation with our Aboriginal people, environment, and I wish to emphasize this, our diversity. The diversity that our Canadian society is known for, and that is based on, among other things, our 2 official languages. My department is already ensuring that the celebrations will respect and promote our official languages. We want to see the contributions of official language minority communities presented in Canada 150 projects and celebrations. We also want to see linguistic duality reflected in the activities related to the 150th anniversary, and I can assure you that this will be the case. Our contribution agreements contain linguistic provisions that set out the requirements related to our official languages. We will also send recipients of the Canada 150 Fund some useful information and a guide to holding a successful bilingual event. These documents have been produced by the Office of the Commissioner of Official Languages, especially for promoters of Canada 150 projects. By sharing this information, we hope to equip them with appropriate skills so that they will think of the 2 official languages when organizing and implementing their projects. These projects, such as Sesqui, which is an interactive multimedia experience using digital technology which will tour communities across the country, and also Experiences Canada's Canada 150 and Me project, which will offer young Canadians inspiring cultural exchanges. In 2017, the 150th anniversary of Confederation will be the ideal moment to promote and celebrate the linguistic duality of Canada. Now I'd like to talk about my mandate letter. The Prime Minister gave me several specific responsibilities in regard to our official languages, which are set out in my mandate letter. In particular, I will concentrate on developing a new multi-year official languages plan by 2018. And I would like to really emphasize this because I'm talking about a real plan rather than a simple roadmap. I intend to consult with Canadians on this subject very soon. It's important to always remember that official languages are a concern for more than just one department. It's a responsibility that colleagues, ministers, and myself take very seriously. The issues related to official languages touch all the federal institutions. To treat them seriously, we need to mobilize a great many federal departments and organizations, as such a plan allows us to do.
Consult with Canadians on the best ways in today's world to promote the development of official languages in minority settings. During these consultations, I will have the opportunity to discuss key issues dealing with the vitality of minority communities, such as immigration. Le ministre John McCallum et moi avons d'ailleurs...
Minister John McCallum and I recently announced a new international mobility program stream that favors the settlement of Francophone newcomers outside Quebec.
Supervise the establishment of a free online service for learning and maintaining proficiency in English and French as second languages. And to make sure that I'm well suited in that task, I will have the opportunity of working in close collaboration with my parliamentary secretary on that project. Canadians from coast to coast to coast will benefit from this service. Avec mon collègue Scott Bryson, président du Conseil du Trésor,
with my colleague Scott Bryson, President of the Treasury Board, I will ensure that all federal services are delivered in full compliance with the Official Languages Act. I'll also work with Carolyn Bennett, Minister of Indigenous and Northern Affairs, to provide new funding to First Nations. Our goal will be to promote, preserve, and protect First Nations languages and cultures, which hold a central place in our heritage. Finally, our government committed in Budget 2016 to reinstate the Court Challenges program. I am working with Minister of Justice Jody Wilson-Raybould to update this program. These goals are ambitious, and I'm enthusiastic about the idea of working with my colleagues to achieve them. Before I conclude, I'd like to mention that the 2014-2015 Canadian Heritage Annual Report on Official Languages is being prepared. I will be happy to discuss it with you soon. However, I'd like to highlight right now the accomplishments resulting from our support for official languages. There are French language schools everywhere in the country. Enrollment in immersion schools has increased by 39% in 10 years. Our partnerships with the provinces and territories have enabled us, over more than 40 years, to support education in minority situations, learning of a second language, and service delivery in the minority language. Our agreements with minority communities have made us efficient partners.
We can count on national institutions such as the Canada Council for the Arts, the National Arts Centre, the National Film Board, Telefilm Canada, and CBC Radio-Canada to promote Canadian, Anglophone, and Francophone artists, artisans, and creators. We support the creation and distribution of works produced in minority settings through our funding programs for arts and culture. We also provide grant programs, language assistant programs, and linguistic exchange programs to help our young people speak both official languages. Finally, we cooperate with the non-governmental sector to promote the use of our two official languages everywhere in Canada. En conclusion, je tiens à vous rappeler que notre gouvernement...
To conclude, it's obvious that our government is committed to promote and support official language communities in minority situations. And to that end, I'd like to emphasize that you will find in me an ally of official languages. I wish to protect official languages, and I'm an ardent defender of the vitality of of minority official language communities. We're aware of the challenges involved with official languages, and collaboration is very important to allow us to meet these challenges. So I intend to work in a collaborative fashion with you, and I'd like to thank you for listening to me, and I'm prepared to work with you. Thank you very much, Madam Minister. Since time is ticking by, I think that we will suspend at this point. We will vote, and we will, if with your agreement, we will carry on right after the next vote. So we will suspend for the vote, and we will come back here and resume.
We will get back to work with the Minister of Canadian Heritage, but before that, we have tabled a motion. You've received it on the table. I will read it, that the clerk of the committee take the necessary steps to make reservations at the Parliamentary Restaurant for a working lunch between committee members and the Chief Justice of the Quebec Superior Court on Tuesday, May 3rd, 2016 at noon, and that the cost of this activity be covered by the committee's budget. Everyone in favor? All those in favor? Carried. Madam Minister, we will continue with our meeting, and we will have a 6-minute first round. I understand that we have 30 minutes of debate in the House, which will be followed by a bell, which I understand is also 30 minutes. That means that we have roughly 45 minutes to finish with you, Minister. That's all right? Yes? Good. Okay. And we will start immediately with Bernard Généreux. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Minister, good afternoon. Hello. So just a quick question before I get into my other questions. You gave an interview on TV5 recently where you were asked why official languages had been taken out of the name of the department, and I had trouble understanding your answer. So just very quickly, well, I'm very happy to have the opportunity to explain that. Essentially, when it comes to official languages, we have a very pan-governmental approach, a cross-cutting approach, a little bit like what we have with Indigenous affairs, where there are several different departments that deal with the affairs dealing with Indigenous people. We have the same thing for official languages, and so I work to coordinate the efforts of every department. Well, I don't fully understand. Well, I can explain that in greater detail, but I think that my answer is very clear. Well, the reason why the name of the department has changed, well, it was already cross-cutting. Well, we have an approach that is much completer, much more complete than that of the previous government, and also which involves a number of departments and a number of ministers, and I'm very happy to have this responsibility of coordinating our approach. And in a context of our government being open and transparent, the Prime Minister clearly indicated in our mandate letters what are our responsibilities when it comes to official languages. So I'd invite you to consult the mandate letter for my department, but also those of my colleagues. Minister, the Liberal opposition criticized conservative ministers in the past concerning the use or concerning bilingualism on social networks. And last December, a number of current ministers in the Liberal cabinet were unilingual Anglophones, and there is also one unilingual Francophone, which means that the Prime Minister had said that he would not insist that everyone learn a second language. So recently, or last week, Impératif Français noted that 23 of the 31 ministers do not communicate in both official languages on social media. Given the importance that you're giving to transparency and the use of official languages, how can you justify that 5 months later this bilingualism is still not present? Well, bilingualism is a priority, and it's a question of managing social media and respecting official languages. That's a priority for us. All of the official accounts, official ministerial accounts, must be bilingual and must communicate with Canadians in both official languages. All of the official accounts of my colleagues and my own as well. That having been said, in terms of bilingualism on social media, we must do better and we will do better. And that's why it's a pleasure for me to clarify this question with the Commissioner of Official Languages, Graham Fraser, and that's something we will discuss. Do you have a deadline for when you want to fix this situation? Well, I am already looking at this issue. Another question, Madam Minister. French is a language that is very popular elsewhere in the country, particularly where French is a minority language. There are parents who are waiting up to 36 hours in line to sign their children up for French immersion. And in some ways, that's good news because it suggests that there's a lot of interest out there in French immersion. But at the same time, it seems to be, well, how can I put it? It's unfortunate to see that these parents who want to sign their children up for French immersion or French learning are unable to do it because there's not enough space in schools. Do you have a very specific plan for this? I noticed that you mentioned this earlier. Do you have a very specific plan to improve accessibility for French immersion? Well, it's clear that we're going to work on this issue for 2017 as we prepare the next action plan for official languages, which will be launched for 2018 when the current roadmap ends. In the meantime, given that we know that there is, well, that we can do better to support our official language minority communities, I've launched a number of initiatives within the department to deal with some of the challenges that have been generated by, again, the previous government, given that support was lacking, in my opinion, for official languages. And so that is why, and I mentioned this in my opening remarks, John McCallum, the Minister of Immigration, and myself have launched a new support program for official language minority communities, Francophone communities, to improve integration, immigration Francophone, and integration in immigration. So this is a new program which is called Avantage Significatif. Thank you, Mr. Généreux. Mr. Lefebvre. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and welcome, Madam Minister. I'd like to thank you for the information that you gave when you said that you'll continue to defend official languages in minority situations. Thank you for that. Thank you. You are responsible, according to the Official Languages Act, for promoting linguistic communities and to promote linguistic duality around the country. What are you doing to ensure that linguistic communities not only survive but also thrive in this country? Well, as I mentioned in my opening remarks and also in responding to the questions from our colleague Mr. Généreux, we will be launching, well, public consultations which will lead to the creation of a new action plan which will be launched in 2018. Given that, it's clear that all programs will be reviewed and all of the needs that exist will be identified, and we'll look at how we can do better to support official language minority communities so that at the end of the day, we can better support the vitality of our linguistic communities. I had the opportunity already to meet with people in local communities, and I've seen the effects of the, how can I put it, the difference between the way things were done before and the roadmap put in place by the previous government. And we're seeing emerging needs in terms of immigration, for example, in terms of communications in a digital era. So I'll be very happy to continue those conversations, which will feed into the plan that is being developed in 2017 to come into effect in 2018. And you've talked about public consultations. When do you intend to put those in place? Well, I'll be working closely with my parliamentary secretary, Randy Boissonneau, to meet with as many organizations as possible to ensure that we can properly identify the needs that exist and also to meet urgent demands, particularly when it comes to immigration. Immigration is a question that has really come to the forefront. I was very involved in working with my colleague John McCollum on the Syrian refugee file. And when it came time to work out where Syrian refugees were going to go across the country, official language minority communities really stepped up and said, we need to be able to ensure that we can welcome and integrate these new refugees in the local language, in most cases in French. And that's where we said, okay, how can we do things better? How can we improve the integration of immigrant communities into official language minority communities? And that's where my colleague, Mr. McCollum, and myself are working together to launch this new project, Avantage Significatif Francophone, which was a program that unfortunately had been cut by the previous Conservative government. Thank you. If you allow, Mr. Speaker, thank you, or Mr. Chair, rather, thank you very much, Minister, and welcome to the colleagues from Canadian Heritage. It's a pleasure to see you here. Minister, I was very happy to hear you say that people from Nova Scotia are passionate about education, and I'm sure it's the same thing around the country, but I know there was a lot of emotion when you said that, and I was very happy to see that. Well, it came from the heart, and I really appreciate that very much, Madam Minister. And there's a very important question, an essential issue when it comes to Francophone immigration. I know you touched on that a little bit, but it's absolutely crucial that we be able to, well, with the strategy that you're going to be putting into place, that we be able to rapidly target and help those communities. Let's say a community welcomes 1,000 immigrants. If the numbers 5–6% aren't protected, we'll see our percentages go down, and our regions might be under the necessary percentage to reach the goals for being able to offer services in French. So I'd like to ask you to add a bit to the information you've already shared about the strategy for Francophone immigration. I believe you're referring to the regulation that supports the Official Languages Act, which evaluates a community's eligibility to receive services in the second official language. So the 5%, the 5% threshold, rather. Yes. Well, that's a subject that I'm looking at very, very closely, to look at how we're able to really respect the Official Languages Act, and also how can we ensure that our official language minority communities thrive. So I'll be very happy to work with the committee to evaluate all of that. We're very aware that these regulations were created over 2 decades ago, and that it might be time to look at those, look at what is the effect what are the effects of those regulations, what are the positive and negative impacts of those regulations, and how can we find a balance that will ensure the vitality of our communities. Thank you, Mr. Sanson. Mr. Choquette. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Minister, for joining us today, for taking the time. There's something that I don't understand, and you've said that you are the coordinator for official languages, that you are the defender of official languages, but why did you not fight to keep the name official languages in the title of your ministry? Well, I'll explain why it's important. It's so important that all of the ministers have and share this responsibility. And that's why it's my role to ensure the coordination, to really lead in this area. But it's the same thing when it comes to our relationship with the Indigenous people. Yes, but we have a Minister of Indigenous Affairs, for example. As is the case with reconciliation with Indigenous peoples, well, as Minister of Canadian Heritage, I'm responsible for working in the areas of Aboriginal culture and Aboriginal languages. It's the same thing when it comes to linguistic duality. It's a shared responsibility, and so that's why I'm working very closely with my colleague, the Treasury Board President, or with my colleague at the Department of Justice, for example, to launch programs like the Legal Challenges Program, which unfortunately had been cut by the previous government. And that's a very good good news story, I should mention. And that's something that's very important for linguistic minority communities and for defending language rights. So the spirit of the move is that bilingualism is a priority and that it's a shared responsibility, and that I play a leadership role with that responsibility. Thank you, Minister. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but there's not much time. No, that's fine. I understand. I know that you met with the FCFA recently. I understand you'll probably also represent with the QCGM. Yes, Monday morning. Yes. And I've had the opportunity by the past to work as a member of the Conseil supérieur de la langue française. We've heard that in recent years we've seen, because of the lack of a central authority, that the Official Languages Act has not been fully implemented. Sometimes it's implemented at the strict minimum level, and sometimes even less than that. And so that's why I'm coming back to this idea that we need a central authority, and that's why I'm worried that official languages has disappeared from the title of your ministry, because even the president of the FCFA has said, without a central authority, who is ensuring that the Official Languages Act is applied? Well, again, it's a shared responsibility, as is noted in my mandate letter, and I believe Mr. Bryson, the president of the Treasury Board, will have the opportunity to appear before this committee a bit later this year to speak to this. But I'd like to reassure Madame Laforge and all stakeholders in the area that this is a priority for me. It's a priority for our government, and we will obviously move forward. We will see advances in official languages under our government. I know you'll be meeting soon with the Commissioner of Official Languages. I'm happy to hear that. And I hope that you'll have the opportunity to talk about the plans and priorities of the Office of the Commissioner of Official Languages. And we've seen that because his budget has been frozen, and it will continue to be frozen, there wasn't any increase for his budget in the Liberal budget. He said that it will be very difficult for him to respect his mandate. So how do you react to those comments? What will you do to improve things? Well, it's clear that I'm very sensitive to this. I've already had the opportunity to meet with Mr. Fraser. I'll also have the opportunity to meet eventually with his successor, because as we all know, Mr. Fraser his term will be ending soon. But I'm sensitive to this question, and I will certainly discuss that issue with the team at the Office of the Commissioner of Official Languages. But generally speaking, there are decisions that have been taken which are very important and which will have a direct impact on the organizations that offer services to communities around the country, to official language minority communities. And those are very important decisions, and I'd be very happy to talk about them, including the delegation of power. As you know, the Translation Bureau is currently being hit by uncertainty, by a lack of employees, by a new automatic translation tool. Are you looking at this? The Translation Bureau is not hiring any new people. There are cuts. There's losses through attrition. What are you going to do to fix this? Well, there haven't been any cuts under our government at the Translation Bureau. Yes, but attrition is ongoing. Yes, it's also clear that it's important for us that when it comes to the Translation Bureau, we be able to offer services that will improve the quality of French and English within the public service. That's for internal communications. In terms of external communications, it's clear that if the impact of the Translation Bureau, if there's a lack of respect for the Official Languages Act, then we will fix the situation to ensure that the government respects the Official Languages Act at all times. Thank you, Mr. Choquette. We will continue with Mr. Sanson. Thank you very much. Mr. Choquette, I hope that the committee will be able to do a report on the Translation Bureau before we make any decisions about the Translation Bureau. And the government is cooperating with that. So, Madam Minister, I'd like to discuss the roadmap a bit, but I'd also like to congratulate you for your efforts and your department for your efforts in terms of two major changes that have already been made by your department, changes which are essential to official languages communities. First of all, the request from organizations and communities that there be a faster approval of funding and of projects which get money out the door quicker. And I understand that there are new processes that are in place, and for requests of $15,000 or less, that's in place. That's a major change that is really going to help communities. And the other thing is the decision to offer funding over several years for different organizations so that they can keep good employees in place. These are things that had been issues for many years, and these are decisions that are really going to help. So I'd like to thank you for that. My question is, what is the action plan in terms of time? When do you expect to launch consultations on the new plan, the new roadmap, or the new action plan, if the title is changed? But maybe you could tell us a bit more about that and your vision in terms of the timeline.
First of all, every time I travel in this country, I always hold a round table with various organizations working in the official languages sector. In Halifax, we had, you were with me at the round table, Mr. Sanson. I'd also like to say that throughout 2016 and in 2017, with the parliamentary secretary, I will have an opportunity to hold consultations to ensure that our plan is ready for 2018. That's the first thing. Secondly, every year I have 8,000 agreements to sign, grants, that is. There are about 30 per day. We have days, as you all know, that are very busy. At the end of the week, I can find myself with 20 grants that are left to be signed. And I finally understood why the organizations in the arts and culture sectors are so concerned. There was a real blockage in Ottawa. And it was recommended, these grants were recommended, and normally they should have been approved by the cabinet. But in 80% of the recommendations from the departments were pre-approved. But because of this bottleneck and the cabinet, the response time was totally disproportionate. So everything that's under $75,000 that's for the region, well, now I've delegated powers, and now they will be done within 6 months. Now we're able to ensure that the organizations receive their money. They don't need to finance themselves, use their own money. They've made expenditures, but the minister has not yet approved the grant. Secondly, this delegation of power will also make it possible so that we can work on multi-year funding. I'll give you an example. In the Yukon, official languages, a month and a half ago, an organization called Les Essentiels, this organization helps Francophone women in Whitehorse. They were given funding for 3 years. It's the first time in their history that they've ever had such stable funding. So that leads to greater efficiencies, and that it improves foreseeability, and it improves everything on all fronts. So that's the first time that Heritage Canada, first time that a minister has ever delegated authority. Thank you very much, Mr. Sansoso. Given that the bells are ringing, I need your agreement so that we can continue working. Okay? Carried. So now we will go to Mr. Vandal. Thank you very much for your very nice presentation, Madam Minister. In St. Boniface, we're very interested in the budget for many reasons. One reason in particular is the granting of CBC Radio-Canada. I believe CBC will be receiving about $675 million in 2016. And I'm wondering, what impact will this have on the ability of the CBC to really showcase our two languages as a result of this increase in budget? Thank you. Yes, we've given $675 million to CBC Radio-Canada. This is new funding over 5 years. We reached an agreement with CBC about 3 criteria that are going to form the basis of this new funding. Of course, we're going to be respecting the mandate of CBC Radio-Canada as well. And one of the criteria is that CBC is going to be able to really fulfill its role as a public broadcaster and try and develop local content in both official languages. And in doing so, they're going to be able to put a stop to some negative some negativity that was caused by the cutbacks to the CBC budget, particularly with respect to official languages, communities, and minority situations. Another thing that impressed me, we're all interested in supporting Aboriginal languages. St. Boniface is where we had Louis Riel, the leader of the Métis people. What are our plans to preserve and encourage Aboriginal languages right across the country? I'm very pleased that you've mentioned Louis Riel and his important legacy as the leader of the Métis Nation. Naturally, for us, we were going to want to develop in 2017, and I will be working with Carolyn Bennett, who is the Minister of Indian Affairs and Northern Development. We're going to come up with a support strategy to support both Aboriginal culture and language. And of course, if we look at the report, the Reconciliation Commission report, there were 3 recommendations in particular that dealt with language and culture. And in our comprehensive approach, as part of this response to the Reconciliation Commission, we're going to deal with those issues. So I'll be working on this whole matter with my team. Also in St. Boniface, we have cultural groups, francophone cultural groups, artistic groups that are francophone. We have the Maison des Artistes, we have the Franco-Manitoba group. There are 8 or 10 different cultural groups. Will they be receiving support, perhaps some grants? That in the official languages portfolio that may help these groups? Yes, pardon me. We did increase funding to $55 million for the Canada Council for the Arts. This $550 million amount is over a 5-year term. Simon Brault's team, who is the CEO of the Canadian Council of the Arts, will be called upon to present his implementation plan, how he intends to invest this money. The Council had 148 programs. Now it's going to be reduced to 6 programs that are much broader, more interesting, and we're going to be able to support communities, various artists and craftspeople, various, how can I say this, various organizations, artistic organizations that are going to be supported by the Council for the Arts, particularly those that promote the vitality of official language communities and minority situation. Going back to your point about Aboriginal languages and culture, the Council has set a priority of providing better support to artists from the Aboriginal community. Thank you, Mr. Vandal. Brad. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to try and use my second official language today. Congratulations. Madam Minister, in your mandate letter, you received instructions from the Prime Minister, and one was to establish a free online tool for supporting official language community. 2 questions. What's the budget for this project? How much money will be spent on that project? And do you think that's the best use of money? Because there are a lot of free services that I came across in my French course.
The civil service has services like this, and as I said in French, there's plenty of free services.
Well, thank you for your question. I'll be working on that specific project with my parliamentary secretary. The idea is to increase access to tools that are online tools, which really helps to develop a knowledge in the second language. So for us, it was our idea to not only promote bilingualism, but more than that, help Canadians to really become bilingual. And by having a modern way of developing the skills of Canadians, we will be able to better achieve that goal.
But shouldn't the government do a survey to see what is out there? Because as someone who has studied for several years on and off, there is an awful lot of free language tools out there in both English and French. They are two of the world's most popular languages. Would there not be a survey to see what's needed? And also, my first question was, what was the budget? Do you have a budget for this, or is this going to be another expenditure that's eventually added to the deficit?
My colleague, Mr. Boissonneau, has already done that survey, and that we already are working on the project. This was a clear commitment, part of our electoral platform, and this is also why it's in my mandate letter. And it was also a project on which our colleague Maurice Bélanger had worked on in the past. And in the context of looking at all the different scenarios to increase access, we will eventually be able to establish a budget.
Mr. Nader.
Oui, merci, et merci, Madame la Ministre.
Thank you, Madam Minister.
Is there any risk that establishing an online tool will eventually be a way of reducing French language training live in person in other places across the government? Is there a risk of us relying too much on an online tool rather than in-person learning?
For us, this was complementary to what was already being done under the existing programs. This was clearly not a way to reduce language training that is already being given. So it was just a better way to empower Canadians to learn the second language and to do it in a easier way by being at home or at work, but it was for all Canadians rather than maybe within our public service or through programs that are given to new immigrants.
Second question, we've talked a little bit about the online or the Portage tool, the new translation. Have you personally had an opportunity to review the Portage tool, and what are your thoughts specifically on the Portage tool?
En fait, l'idée avec Portage, c'était de...
The idea behind Portage was to add to the toolbox that was already available in order to improve communications, internal communications within the public service. And the various officials were going to have assistance when they wanted to send emails in their language of choice to their colleagues, who could in turn read them in their language of choice. The purpose was certainly not to reduce resources, translation resources, and certainly not as a way to get around our official language obligations. The next will be Mrs. Lapointe, followed by Gary. You're going to be sharing your time. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Madam Minister, for coming here today. I appreciate your visit. Mr. Bélanger was something that was, official language was very important to Mr. Bélanger, and I'm hoping he's going to read about everything that's going on. What are your plans to ensure the celebration of the 150th anniversary in terms of accessibility to official language and to showcase French and English in Canada? You know that in my riding north of Montreal, I have an English minority in Deux-Montagnes and in Grosse-Mère. What impact will this have on minority official language groups? Thank you for your question. For the 150th anniversary celebration, we're going to be providing financing that has been divided in accordance with Canada-wide priority list from various partners and organizations. These are Canada-wide projects, and as I said in my opening statement at the beginning of the meeting, we have very clear clauses to ensure that all proposals put forward by organizations respect official languages, and even more, certain projects have to celebrate our official language component. That's the Canada-wide projects. We also have funding for community-based projects, and the purpose here is that we want to have activities underway in all of the regions, and we want to be able to celebrate their diversity. But also there are some projects that are going to be presented by various proponents, partners, and I mentioned all of this in my statement. I said that there were 4 themes that were not that visible before in inclusion of diversity. That, of course, includes our linguistic duality. Thank you very much. I will turn the floor over to my colleague, Mr. Gary. Thank you, Mrs. Lapointe. Madam Minister, I heard you talking about standards for essential services in your department, primarily with respect to the delegation of authority, approval purposes, requests for funding for amounts that can be approved by certain officials. Could you provide us with more information? How much will this decision cost? What will the impact of this be, particularly with respect to linguistic communities and minority situations? I thank you for your question. I had an opportunity to respond to part of this question earlier when I talked about this delegation of power, about everything that was under $75,000. I would say that the reaction throughout the country has been very, very positive. Of course, we are investing $1.9 million in arts and $1 billion, pardon me, in arts and culture. This has been greeted very favorably. We had some. The problem wasn't with the bureaucracy per se, but things were too politicized. And as I said, Ottawa really was a bottleneck. And so this new approach has been very much appreciated and meets a need that has been very evident over the past few years.
All right. Okay, Mr. Shuckett, 1 minute. Thank you very much, Chair. And once again, thank you very much, Minister, for being here and answering our questions. The first thing I'd like to say is that there's a very interesting report. I know it concerns both justice and official languages. It's access to justice in both official languages from the Official Languages Commissioner. Unfortunately, this was put on the shelf when it came up. I hope you'll take it off the shelf. There were some great recommendations in there. I hope you'll be able to study it. It's the report of the Official Languages Commissioner on justice and access to justice. As you know, I tabled a private member's bill to require that all Supreme Court judges be bilingual, that they be able to understand both official languages. For me, it's something that's very important. As you know, this is a debate that's been out there for about 10 years. Yvon Godin and Acadie Bathurst fought for many years for that. I hope you'll support that bill, first question. And second question, I've understood that for you, the Translation Bureau, well, we've already said that the translation tool, the automatic translation tool, will be used just for internal communications, for writing emails. Is that you've said? Well, to answer your first question, it's clear that we are in favor of appointing Supreme Court judges who are bilingual. The Prime Minister has said that on a number of occasions, and I'll say it again to you, it's very important. Second point, for the machine translation tool, well, it was intended for, and obviously my colleague Judy Foote would be able to give you more information on this question, but because it's really her file, but it was really intended for internal communications, so that for example, a francophone wishes to write an email in French, be able to send it to a colleague, an Anglophone colleague who might be able to read it and understand the information. So the idea was that it was a supplementary tool instead of something that was designed to lead to further cuts at the Translation Bureau. That was not the goal, and this was a project that, well, it was part of looking at new ways to do things. Your Conservative colleague mentioned that he's improved his French language skills using online tools. Well, this project falls under the same sort of thinking. When it comes to promoting and learning a second language, we need to look at every avenue available to us. And so that is the end, given that time has passed, of our session today. Thank you very much, Minister, for your excellent remarks. Also, thank you, Mr. Lucier and Mr. Gauthier, for your presence here today. I'd like to just remind committee members as we conclude that when we come back a week from Monday, we will be hearing from the Commissioner of Official Languages, and the following Wednesday, we still don't know yet who we're going to hear from. So, once again, if you'll allow, Chair, I would like to remind committee members that I'm very happy to work with the committee, and if you have any questions in terms of need for briefings, for example, on certain questions, it would be a pleasure for me to ensure that my colleagues at Canadian Heritage be able to give you the facts on different files so that we can raise parliamentary debate and continue to protect and promote our official languages. Thank you. All right, thank you very much, Minister. And on this, the meeting is suspended.